Hello everyone, welcome to Quantum Life Community. I am going to do our energy forecast for the month in this group, and I have a lot to share with you, so it's all kind of coming in right now. So just wanted to wait for a second while some people get on live with us. Love roll call. We are in our TICA organization, which is Transcendence International Consciousness Academy, is in 20 countries now, where we are basically, our mission is to, basically help alignment of leadership on the planet and get the missions that are on purpose to flow together so we can all work together for this healing and this awakening that is happening all over the world. So I will jump into it. I am very excited about December because obviously we've got the full moon, which is a super moon, and we've got the retrograde, which I will totally get into as far as like the logistics of how that helps kind of push us and amplify energies for us so that we can really kind of be aware, because believe it or not, the thing that gets you aware is not your routine. It is when your routine gets bumped a little bit, or, when you hit a challenge or you hit that wall, or, your empathy or your compassion is stirred up. And 2017 has been the year of basically, I like to lovingly call it, it's like a scooter to the ankle. It's been a complete pain, right? So, and what and the purpose of that is for us to become uncomfortable with who we've been. Because where we're going, we cannot be who we've always been. If we're going to move into ascension, which, I'm sure by this point in time, you guys have heard, endless teachers talk about the ascension and the awakening and evolution. And if you understand that, it's really more of like the butterfly effect. It's more of like, that caterpillar that goes through a deconstruction, reconstruction, rebirth process, and then becomes that unlimited flight of moving into abundance and freedom. And for, about a month now, I've been channeling from my guidance that, 2018 is the year of infinite abundance, which means it's going to start a path. And does that mean everyone's going to wake up on January 1st with, all the money that they've asked for? Maybe. But it's really going to come down to, are you going to allow that to be in your life? And how you're going to allow that is, are you someone who believes they receive that, can receive that, deserves that, and can step into the shoes of someone who would be able to disseminate and create with that? And that's really all it's coming from, is personal judgment. It has nothing to do with the universe deciding whether or not you're ready, because technically you are the universe. Your universe imagining itself. So your timing, when you're done with that caterpillar experience, your time will start to shift and transform. And a lot of us have gone through this transformation process for years now. I like to say that 2012 was kind of the year that I realized I am. And 2018 is the year I realized I am love, which is a very big difference, because, when you realize that you are, that I am, then all of a sudden it's like all of your questions start to get answered, but then all of your shadows start to come up. What has been in the way between you and your heart? Because believe it or not, your heart is where your superpowers reside. It isn't in your brain. It isn't in your logic. It isn't in the strength of your body. It is in the combination of your heart and your body working together as one in synchronization of the electromagnetic fields on the planet that are all attuning to the frequency of love, which means that if the planet is raising her vibration, then we are there to raise our vibration to match that frequency. And then all of a sudden we have harmony, which is exactly what 2017 has been about. It's about working you into internal harmony. If you're following me, you understand the way that I teach. I like to teach the quantum theories of the universe very, very simply, to understand that there is absolutely no judgment in duality. It is that center point where dark meets light that love actually exists, because too dark or too light you can't see. And in the middle is where we are and where we're becoming in our strength. Because we need to have that level of compassion and understanding for us to keep showing up anyways. And so 2017 has been this year of transformation, of us basically getting pushed out of our own way so that higher guidance that is within us, that's been with us since the day that we were born, can start actually helping you navigate through your life into what we would call heaven on earth. You know, it isn't about, you know, getting this life over and then going back into the heavens. It's about bringing heaven down into this physical plane and having your health and your relationships and your abundance and yourself all in that alignment of love. And what is love? Love is the absence of judgment. It is eternal understanding of self, which is constantly infinite and in harmony with itself. And how all of the little, you know, equinoxes and solar flares and all how the astrology that has been, you know, gifted to us, especially this year, has been like that. It's like that push. It's like, okay, the time is getting closer for you to not be in this nest and not need me and not need your parents and not need that as excuses and not need that job and not need all of these security blankets that, if you've noticed, 2017 has really challenged you. It's like what you thought has been keeping you safe your whole life is showing up to teach you that really what has been keeping you safe is yourself. You know, you've noticed that people aren't there when you need them. You've noticed that the job that you may have went to school for isn't necessarily resonating with you. And you're going through this internal transformation. And if you understand how that caterpillar actually moves into that transformation and that metamorphosis, it's all about the deconstruction of who it has been to survive down below. And it has to let go of all of these things that are in its way so that it can lighten up. The true definition of enlightenment is to lighten up. So whatever has been holding you down, whatever has been holding you back, is kind of being exposed this last year. I mean, it really has the last few years, but it isn't until this year that we have had the level of awareness to kind of be able to check ourselves and really like take responsibility and not blame other people and blame circumstances and events and say, wow, I'm really starting to understand that this universe is reflective, and law of attraction isn't listening to my thoughts as much as my actions and my feelings and my whole being, which is that me, myself, and I, which is all three aspects of yourself that are creating vibrationally, viscerally with the universe. So your universe is showing up exactly where you are the most proud of yourself and where all of your secrets reside. And that's why it's so exciting at this time, because it's all about kind of reflecting and then resetting. It's like this month would be a really great opportunity for you to really take stock of your life, and especially maybe like the last 5 years, and ask yourself, you know, what have I become and what am I ready to let go of? What is going to help me lighten up, right? What concepts, what belief systems, what ideas, what relationships, you know, what addictions, what am I holding on to because I'm afraid to move into a level of uncertainty? And that's really what I'm noticing as a coach and intuitive, is where people are kind of sabotaging themselves the most. It isn't because they don't want it. It is because they are so unsure of what it looks like. And when you don't know what something looks like, then your brain and your body connection, your subconscious, it goes on this wild goose hunt to try to figure out what it's going to look like. And that's thought. So really, December, the best advice that I could give you for December is to get really quiet and get really still with your mind. That doesn't mean get still with your body, because I would actually prefer it if your body got really active this month, because that will help transform a lot of those old emotions that are trapped. And using kinesiology to kind of check in with your body before you eat, before you work out, before you meet up with your mother-in-law, before you go spend that money or don't spend that money. Really check in with yourself and say, how does the bigger part of me feel about this choice I'm about to make? And then get quiet, because when you're constantly talking about everything that's going on, all you're doing is regurgitating your thoughts, and you're keeping yourself from your feelings. And then you're attaching to other people's feelings because it's safer for you to attach to other people's feelings than your own. And so now you're in empathy and you're in compassion for the people that are struggling around you, and you've just completely diverged away from your own journey, because that's been the easiest thing for us to do, is to be the heroes. And if you've been listening to my work lately, I'm talking about the difference between higher self and lower self, is that the higher self is a cheerleader for everyone in the universe and a hero for itself. And the ego plays the hero because it makes it feel empowered and it makes it feel strong. But when you believe that you are here to be the light for someone, to wake someone up, to do their journey for them, to take care of them financially, to do all of these things, what you're actually doing is you're doing a disservice to them. They have an internal guidance system that can only be activated through desire. Desire is the first method of manifestation, and without desire, we don't go looking for the answer. We don't go looking for the solution. We don't go looking to be fed, because everything is constantly feeding us. And then you take on someone else's desire and you make it your full-time job, because it feels good to your ego to be able to play the hero. And it only feels good to play the hero because you don't feel like you're the hero of yourself. So that would be one thing that I would really urge everyone to do, is really take stock of their 2017 and look at where codependence still lies, because codependents they're going to be like anchors in a boat. You're not going to move very far with a bunch of anchors of codependency, you know. And what I've noticed with empaths the most and light workers, it's not so much of you needing people, it's that you believe people need you. You believe, well, I can't do this because what happens to my husband, and what happens to my daughter, and what happens to my sister, and you know, well, let me ask you, how did you get through this journey? You know, did you get it through it from your sister and your spouse, or was the contrast an actual catalyst for you? Was your spouse's rejection of your journey a catalyst? I mean, how are you here listening to my voice? Because really what you've done is you've taken every criticism and every judgment and everyone who told you no, and you've done the opposite this year. You've looked for that inner strength. You looked for that inner guidance. You've gotten quiet. You've adjusted your life. You're asking for new things. You're questioning what is versus showing up with what is and repeating the past, because law of attraction is looking at what you're looking at. So if you're focused on what has always been, I would hate for your 2018, in the year of infinite abundance, to just be more abundance of BS. Because really, when I say 2018 is the year of abundance, I don't mean that everyone is going to get a bucket of money. Whatever you are focused on will become very abundant to you. Now, re-listen to that. What you are focused on. So if you are focused on what you don't have, you will be highly, infinitely abundant in that in 2018 until you redesign and redesign that belief system. Now, if you decide that you're going to have, you know, and become the best version of you, which is what we're doing in our workshop right now in TICA, and we are having to practice the art of not being ourselves, which has not been easy. You know, we've had to interrupt patterns all day. We've had to interrupt our life choices, our routines, our obligations, our redesigning what loyalty actually means, and moving into that realm of being the hero of ourselves and the cheerleader of everyone else, which means that everyone else, you're here to hold space, nurture, appreciate, empower, educate, but you are not here to say, just let me do this for you because I know how to do this, because I'm more aware. Of course you're more aware, which means the more aware one should be the teacher, and your teacher isn't here to take the tests for you. The teacher isn't here to, you know, to handle the bully in the playground. The teacher is here to guide you and be a cheerleader for you and help you remember that eternal universal knowledge that's buried inside of you that you can only comprehend when you get quiet enough from your own mind and from telling your stories, you know, and from giving into your addictions and moving into that space where you become this teacher for everyone else and you become the student of yourself. And that's when life gets really, really magical. And that's what we're doing right now with our workshop. So I wanted to tap in because a lot of people get really freaked out during Mercury Retrograde. And you know, the purpose of that particular planet being in alignment with the December full moon, which is a supermoon, which is kind of like, it brings forth a lot of magic. Mercury tends to bring through a lot of like earth energy, a lot of like old programming. It's masculine, it's very form based. That's why they're like, oh, don't sign contracts in Mercury retrograde. I truly believe if you're really going to do this quickly, which is, let's rip the Band-Aid off, we could look at every Mercury retrograde as the quickest route to enlightenment, because what it is doing is it's exposing everything that you've been basically suppressing. So your abilities to focus everything under the surface and just, you know, deal with what is and help everyone else with their issues. Mercury retrograde is kind of like it's a bypass. It's going to bring everything to the surface that you've been kind of neglecting, and it's going to throw your truth in your face, and it's going to also, because we've got this supermoon, it's also going to bring your magic in your face. So you're going to see like what you've been suppressing with your human form, and you're also going to see what you've been suppressing from your non-physical form, with that angelic, that empath, that warrior within you. You know, you've also going to be, you know, that's going to be brought forth. So you're going to be looking at these two magical parts of yourself, you know, the form, the human part, and then this superhuman aspect of yourself. And really the only kryptonite that we have is judgment of ourselves. Because when we judge ourselves about, you know, what we're doing or you know, where we're going, then what it does is it shuts down our guidance system. And you're going to need your guidance system even more, because you have this potential now to really walk into the footsteps of your higher self's calling. And higher self is always calling you through that pure excitement. You know, it's like what makes your soul catch on fire. It's like what makes you, you know, wake up in the morning, and what makes you come alive, and what dreams are you wanting to resurface so that you can start acting them out. Because intention, it's meaningless without action. It is meaningless without action, because we set intentions all the time. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to say this anymore. I'm not going to eat this anymore. And then our behavior shows up in total contradiction of ourselves. And then we wonder why the universe is not honoring our intentions. So we've got to actually become biochemically the intention that we set, if we're going to actually have the universe start actively playing a role in our advancement, instead of our just repurposing of our old story. Because you've always been the person that set intentions and had really good, you know, and you really had good intentions with everything that you've done, every intention that you set, and then you followed short with your action. And so you've lived a life that's kind of like this. But if you would just intend and then create insane focus, the universe would work out the shadow work for you. Because really, if you were so focused on where you were going, you wouldn't even know the shadow conflict that was coming and going and basically clearing out of your energy field, because you would be so focused on who you were. See, what happens is we're focused on who we are. We start acting as if, and then the obstacles of the past and the shadows of the past and the people of the past and the programs of the past and addictions resurface, and we go, oh yeah, this is who I am. I better tend to this. I better talk to this person, because now this person is upset with me that I'm moving into the direction of my joy. And you see how I just broke my focus. And then law of attraction is going to show up for you with a perfect lesson to let you know that you took your eye off the prize. And that's what's going to happen. So this month is going to amplify that. It's a reflection and a reset. So where do you want to reset this month? Where do you want to say, my 2018 is going to be my best life ever, and here's how I'm going to do it. Not just, don't create that New Year's resolution and then, you know, hope that someone takes care of that for you, because those times are done. No one is going to fly your wings for you. No one is going to teach you how to be a butterfly. No one is going to show up for you. And because you're here to do it yourself. Even though you'll have inspiration and synchronizations, and you'll have your guides constantly around you, you'll have teachers, you know, we're all here, but we're all actively playing this role of moving away from codependency and becoming your cheerleader and saying, you know, how does it feel when this happens? How does it feel when this happens? Instead of, well, you should really be doing this, and you really should be doing this, and you should change your diet. You know, how does it feel when you do that? You know, there's one other kryptonite that really holds empaths back. And I wanted to mention it because, you know, I started my career in, gosh, probably 2000 as a nutritionist. And I really thought I was going to go heal the planet by cleaning up everyone's diet. And I thought that was it. And then I began to learn about the subconscious, and I began to learn about the brain-body connection and how it was just one tiny system of a whole. You know, it was just the body stuff. And I realized now, moving back into accordance, that the body is technically the bridge of how we ascend. We're not getting anywhere without this multidimensional phone line to creation. So we're having the intention, which is coming from the higher part of us, and then we're amplifying it through our body. We're getting our body excited about it using our own hormones that bring life to the body, and then that's getting us excited and enough desire to start acting that out. And then that informs the lower conscious parts of you, which is the ego. And your ego's like, oh, we're going somewhere new. Okay. Instead of you getting contradicted by your old program constantly and getting yourself thrown out of alignment and having to start all over again. So the body really is the bridge. So how you are treating your body next year is going to make or break the fact, are you aging, or are you turning the clock back? Because time is an illusion. And the things that age the body are self-judgment, is a lack of focus on who and what you choose to see in your reality, and poison. And poison can come from a few things. And what is poison technically? It's just an aberration that is out of alignment with source energy. So it's something that's going to disrupt the communication line between you and source energy, which is toxic people, you know, and eventually when we move into becoming all love, no one will ever be toxic to you because you will only ever see them through the eyes of love. But until we move into that perspective, we're still going to feel allergic to some things. We're still going to feel allergic to some people. We're going to still feel allergic to some things. And people have no idea of what they're putting in their body has anything to do with their vibration. And what you're putting into your body is information. And it is frequency. So, you know, you avoid that coworker at work because they don't make you feel good about yourself, yet you go to the vending machine and you eat white sugar and processed food, which also has the same effect. But because you're not in good touch with the body, you're not thinking that has anything to do with how you feel. White sugar takes your emotional connection away from you because it creates an altered emotional state. You know, it says basically like, okay, you're not feeling yourself right now. You're feeling the effects of what this is doing. Also with processed foods, that has the same effect. And when you are trying to keep your focus and stay in alignment and work on your shadow work and, you know, be accountable to yourself and take physical actions and set intentions and become the character, the one thing that you can control is what you put in your body. So I'm going to be talking about this in class a lot in the next couple of weeks, and I would suggest that water become your best friend, especially, well, for the rest of your life, but like intensely right now, because water has that frequency of flow. It has the ability to be malleable, and this is really what it means to kind of become who we're becoming. Is we're going to have to be in this malleable state where we're changing forms. Have you felt like when you make agreements or commitments, and then 2 days later you're like, why did I say that? Why did I agree to that? Like, because you're changing so quickly, you need to start making space for yourself to be more resilient and more malleable, which means one thing I've noticed in my practice this last year is people have had big issues with commitment. And at first I was like, God, that's like really tough. But then I realized, no, they're right on target, because committing to anything other than your investment in becoming your higher self could be out of some urge or addiction or hero effect from the past. And if it's not in perfect alignment with where you are and what you're becoming, especially in the realm of uncertainty, you're going to find that you're changing your mind very, very quickly. You're probably noticing in the last 3 months, like you're changing your mind like once a week about who you are and how you feel and what you want and what you need. And all these things are changing so quickly that you're feeling kind of wishy-washy. But what you're doing is you're learning how to be a 5D frequency, which is malleable. If you've noticed, water is just flowing. If I put it into any shape, it will take the shape of what I've put it into, but it isn't set. So as soon as I change that, it will move. And so we're becoming like more like water. So it's when you're ice, when you're locked in, is when all of your freedom and abundance issues get triggered. Because believe it or not, The jail cell you believe you're in right now is affecting your money flow. It is affecting the health of your body. Because abundance means freedom to a spiritual being. So it isn't about your cash flow. Believe it or not, you will create a low cash flow if you feel trapped in your relationship, if you feel trapped in your body, if you feel trapped in your own mind, because the universe speaks one language, and that's yes. So if I'm feeling stuck in this place, it will affect every place. Okay? So I just wanted to thank you guys for joining me with this quick little forecast, and talk a little bit about our academy. Our academy is called Transcendence International Consciousness Academy. We are in 20 countries, soon to be 21, and it is all done through Facebook. We have virtual classrooms that we're doing all different kinds of things in, and it's really about our mission to remind the masses. To me, the definition of a revolution is education. So if we can educate people and remind them how to use their internal guidance system, remind them how to connect, remind them how to heal their bodies, remind them how to access all of their intuitive abilities, and then help them remove anything that is in the way and anchoring of that, then what we are going to do is we are going to move back into that unity state of being completely unique but free, and have less ego navigating the country and navigating your own mind and navigating your own choices. So there is one little thing that I wanted to add, and I was kind of debating whether or not to add this, and this goes out to light workers. We've got probably about close to 1,000 people on the Quantum Life community now. That is our free community where I just do this kind of information and share stories. And pretty much everybody that is in that community is a light worker or an empath. And I am a big advocate of creating a world for yourself where you get paid to be you, okay? Now, there's a lot of spiritual people out there who think getting paid to do spiritual work is out of alignment. And they think that, spiritual concepts and ideas should be free, flowing, and given. And I totally agree with that in some aspects. But when you decide that you want to be a light worker or an empath full-time, which means that you would like to support your children doing the work that is in your heart. You would like to pay for the roof that is over your head with your beautiful inspirations that are flowing through you and your different arts. And you decide that you want to show up and be yourself all day, every day, instead of living a double life, then you're going to have to learn to receive some sort of compensation for that work if you're going to get paid to be you. Now notice how I said compensation. I didn't say necessarily money. Because until we move into a 560 planet, we're still playing out the game of money. Which means that if light workers are going to get totally in alignment, they need to open up the door of accepting any form of abundance that the universe is going to grant them. Which means that, I don't know about you, but I take care of my family, and I have employees who help me with this mission, and I have a roof over my head, and I have everything that I have because I value my time, and I ask for an exchange of energy for that. Okay? I'm not saying I'm charging this much money and you have to pay this much money. I'm saying that this is just over the 5 years where I've gotten really comfortable to say that I get paid to be myself. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because there's so many of you who want all this information. And you want the healers to work on you, you want the prophets to read the cards for you, you want people like me to help you navigate your educational journey back to the quantum understanding, and you believe that it should be free. Well, let me ask you, do you believe that you should take less money for what you do for a living? Do you believe that you should be charged, should get paid a less hourly wage for the work that you're doing right now? If I were to ask you that, probably 100% of you would say, no, I believe I deserve more. So really, I want you to focus on that judgment as empaths and light workers, because when you look at someone else and you judge what they are charging or what they feel they are worth internally, and you have an issue with that, it's really your issue. It's really your issue. And I've already cleaned up this issue with myself. You know, when you first start out and you just love everyone and you don't think that you should get paid to do the things that are coming out of you, but then you realize that you're spending 6-8 hours a day doing it, and you know your kids are going hungry, and your rent isn't getting paid, and you're in contradiction of your own gifts, and you're going, well, it feels so good, I don't feel like I should get paid for it. Well, aren't you on the planet to show the world how to live abundantly, as authentic as possible? So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, because we had a comment that said I was charging too much for my academy. And I know my worth, and I know what we're doing here at Transcendence. And I have spent the last 7 years not charging. And I probably charge less than any intuitive on the market. And I know that I bring 150% of the value that is within my heart every day to the table. So I wanted to just let anyone know who felt like that, is that I would really love for you to just go inwardly and say, if I was in that position where I got to live authentically, what would I charge? And then start going down that whole rabbit hole of going, wow, I really deserve this too. If he deserves this, if she deserves this. You know, I remember when I was building the academy, I looked at like what Tony Robbins was charging for a weekend. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm going to charge that for a year. And that's exactly what I do. What he charges for a weekend, I charge for the year. And that's basically like 1,000 hours of intuitive life coaching. So I know where the value is. And I want this to be a little teaching moment so that you reflect it back to yourselves and really say, I'm worth more than what I'm getting. And if I am in judgment or anything about what someone else is charging, it's really about me not feeling like I am being valued enough in my own life. And that would be something that would be a perfect place to reflect this month. And then reset that belief system. And how you reset a belief system is you set an intention, and then you start acting out that intention, and whatever pops up in the surface, the shadows, you show up as the character who just set that intention, because you'll show up completely different. And then you'll know the perfect modality to clear that shadow, or you know, whatever you need to do, what healing method will come through that bigger part of you instead of that lack of knowledge that comes from the smaller part of you, because that higher self is the genius within. And that's what we're moving into, is we're moving into that collective of geniuses that are actually taking ownership of their own divine intuition and allowing the whole world to know who they are. And that is the message for December, is this is the push. It's kind of like I said, it's the push out of the third dimensional nest. And you're going to get your wings on the way down through practice. You're not going to master spirituality by being in your mind. You're going to master spirituality by walking and feeling, walking and feeling, walking and doing, feeling and doing. You're going to feel and do. That's how you're going to find your way back to that divine connection that you're all seeking. Okay? All right, so guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'm heading over into the virtual classroom later in the afternoon, probably about 1:30, to do our question and answer from our Becoming the Real You workshop. And anyone who is interested in joining us in that workshop or in our academy, go ahead and reach out to us and let us know. And enjoy this month, because there's so much amazing beauty to be really seen in this month if you would just kind of surrender what you've been through this year, because you had to go through this was the year of growing pains, and you are getting your wings, okay? Just like I finally mounted mine. All right, thanks for joining me, guys. See you soon.